This episode is brought to you by SPI Logistics, the premier freight agent logistics firm in North America. For over 40 years, SPI has been diligently building the most successful freight agent network to provide first-class relationships for our shippers, receivers, and carrier partners. We are more than another transportation network. We are a dedicated team of professionals united by one singular purpose, and that is to expedite our agents' success. All of our agents are set up for success on day one, as they are provided with a full suite of support staff that is ready to assist them with everything from after-hours emergencies to financial and administrative needs on a no-fee basis. This way, you can focus on continuing to grow your business. There is no financial risk to start, and you have the ability to earn up to 75% in commissions. If you are looking to take control of your financial future and build your business with the backing of one of the most successful logistics firms in North America, visit www.spi3pl.com to learn more. Do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. This is your first time tuning in. Welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I do say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, so you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Tuesday, everybody. We are rolling solo today. We're going to jump right in here. I didn't schedule this show out. I'm trying something new here on this, because some of the platforms that we go live on, I hear from enough of the audience that they don't get notified of it. And I'm trying to change things up, and we are going to do this a couple of times just to run some tests to see what's going on. Why aren't people being notified of this? So we're going to do that, and we are going to jump right in. Quick reminder, tomorrow, Freight Coach newsletter day. All right. So if you want to get in on this, I need you to go to my website, thefreightcoach.com, just to auto register for it. All right. Because I don't go in there and sign people up just because I have your email address. I don't exploit your contact information, and I want you guys to want to receive this. It just drops once a week. It is talking about rates, fuel prices, industry-related content, because frankly, that's all I really know. And that's what we keep it down to. But you guys know what we got to do. We got to jump in on the market, talk about what's going on, but most importantly, talk about how do we actually understand what is going on in the market. So this is my favorite segment we got, you guys. It's called This Week in Freight, powered by my friends over at DAT. And this has everything to do with reading the market, studying where it was, where it's going, looking for those peak seasonalities in those trend lines to be able to bring that out to your guys' customers. So today's lane, Atlanta, Georgia, Columbus, Ohio. I've been hearing a lot about freight in the reefer freight specifically, and they were, it was primarily inside of the Midwest region. But I had somebody tell me, look at the Southeast. And again, these are all 100% viewer submitted. So if you guys want to get in on this, I need you guys to email my team, podcast@thefreightcoach.com. I just need shipping city, delivery city, and trailer type out there. But this one, you guys, as it shows, Atlanta, Georgia to Columbus, Ohio. And it's a great week to be a refrigerated carrier, because just based on my public school math, this is damn near $5 a mile, what we're seeing out there right now. And it's probably going to be like this for quite some time. It sustained that. If you look back, it sustained the big fuel push out there that happened back in March, right? So it kind of remained at that $3 a mile mark here. It stayed there in April as well. But then, as you can see, it spiked in May, and it's continuing to roll out there. Now, historically, produce season, all right, starts in the Southeast and it migrates up the coast, all right? So it starts in Florida, works its way into Georgia, Carolinas, Virginia, stuff like that. So follow that produce belt, and you're going to see it will pretty much go up in unison. But right now, what's different is rates are just up across the board out there. So I look at this, and again, since we when we're bidding on freight, you guys, the first thing I always look at is that miles. This is a great weekday run. But anything after Friday is going to be exponentially more expensive. That Friday to Monday thing. And it doesn't matter the trailer type, right? Drivers like miles over the weekend. So that's why you see that. And you got to be able to portray that information and present that to your guys as customers. But like I look at what we're seeing right now. We're at $2,500 on this lane currently. And, again, you got to be careful when you're pricing out refrigerated, because it's not a one size fits all that you see out there, because in my opinion, there's 3 classifications of refrigerated freight. You have your temperature controlled, you have your fresh, and you have your frozen. You need to be aware of that and you need to quote accordingly with that. I might not move a lot of food anymore, but like I've moved a lot of food grade shipments in my career. Like the first 7 years of my career, that's literally all I did was food and beverage into every major grocery retailer out there. And that was one thing that we always kept in mind. So it's like, you can take this baseline as a piece of information, but you got to understand the rate might be different if it's a frozen load as opposed to a fresh load, because it burns more diesel, everything else. There's always a reason to quote more money that you see out there. But I think most importantly right now with this spike, I think this lane's probably going to continue to rise, as I think most lanes are going to continue to rise throughout the summer months. I think we're going to see a real summer push on freight rates that we've seen in years past that we maybe haven't over these last 4 years in itself. But, again, we got a couple weeks and then we're already going to be seeing 4th of July. So again, like you got to look at that from a demand perspective. Maybe the holiday itself might not cause a spike in rates until it comes closer to it, but you're going to see a lot of 4th of July freight that is going to start cooking if it hasn't already. And, again, there's going to a lot of these are going to have must arrive by dates out there. So you're going to see some of those spikes in pricing that might not necessarily be capacity driven or fuel price driven out there. So pay attention to those things when we're in between holidays, because especially in the food and beverage sector, and I'm bringing this up for refrigerated freight in particular here, is there's a lot of 4th of July and holiday pushes for sales in these stores, right? So there is going to be an increase in inventory around those times, because everybody's grilling, everybody's drinking beers, blowing up fireworks, and doing all those other things. So there's going to be a lot of promotional freight that's thrown out there. So you're going to see like an upward trend in freight rates here around the summer. Generally, that's when you see it. Again, if you've never been through one of these style of markets, that might sound foreign to you, but those things, you got to plan for that. And you got to present that stuff to your customers, because trust me, somebody out there is doing that. And again, right now, the truck in hand rate is going to be exponentially different than how you've operated in the past, right? You might not be as confident in taking on as much volume as you may have. But like at the end of the day, you guys, brokerage is as simple as this. The person with the truck wins. You got to present options. Like no matter what, you got to present options to your customers and get that freight moving. But I think this lane in particular is going to continue to rise throughout the summer, specifically as we're going to go through the 4th of July holiday. So if you're in a spot market situation, you're in a very good position with your customer. If you're in a contracted rate, like I said yesterday on Drive In, you're probably begging for a rebid if a rebid hasn't already been initiated from your customers, because they all know what's going on out there. That is This Week in Freight, powered by my friends over at DAT for the reefer lane analysis. You guys, this is Atlanta, Georgia to Columbus, Ohio. And if you want in on this, like I said, you got to email my team, podcast@thefreightcoach.com, and we'll break it down on the show. At the end of the day, you guys, I'm just here to try and help you guys read markets on what I do inside of my operation, because I actually move freight. And like I'm going to continue to mention, you guys, I don't use this as a lead gen opportunity. I pay for plenty of lead generation software that's way more granular than a basic shipping and delivery city out there. But all right, you guys, let's break down. I got some people over on YouTube. What's up, Corey? Good to see you, man. But yeah, and if you're watching this on like Twitter or X or LinkedIn, I'm trying to get everybody over to YouTube. I have heard from every single viewer who watches this stream, who were on another platform that switched to YouTube, that the stream quality is exponentially better over there. So if you do go over there, you guys, hit that follow button, subscribe to the show, you guys, help your boy out. But let's jump in. Let's break down some articles here, you guys. I got a couple of them. And as always, you guys, the links to these articles are going to be uploaded into the show notes, because no matter what, I want you guys to do your own research out there and put in bring all of this information out to your customers. But first article, ttnews.com, nearshoring withstands tariffs, geopolitical upheaval. Nearshoring continues its long long-term structural shift, firmly positioning Mexico as the United States' top trading partner with 16.3% of all trade so far in 2026. Data from Infios, I don't know, one of those data websites, reveals a key trend. Shipment values are up 78%, while total entry counts drop 7%, indicating smarter, highly consolidated shipping networks. However, cross-border corridors like I-35 in Laredo are facing capacity and infrastructure pressure, making local carrier expertise and tariff mitigation strategies inseparable from a pure freight cost. Now, let's see here. All right. So, obviously there's a bunch of stuff out there in regards to tariffs in the news. You can hate tariffs, whatever your opinion is on them. At the end of the day, it got reversed. So you can be supporting this or, against this or whatever. But like I've always said, I think nearshoring is what we need to do, right? Like I just go back to 2020, you guys, and our foreign dependence on critical products was very much exposed, right? So you can hate the whole tariff angle out there. I know a lot of people do just because of it was the president who said it. And if it was another administration who did it, they'd love it. That's just kind of the way people are in today's environment. But I think the ultimate goal, even if they went into that and it forces people to reindustrialize the United States of America, which I am always going to be America first on everything. I understand how the world works, you guys. I am just unapologetically America first. I've always been America first, and I'm going to continue to be America first. But I will, again, a strong North America benefits us, all right? And that includes Canada and Mexico. So us seeing a lot of this is very good for our supply chain. It's very good for our economy because everybody wants their goods faster at the end of the day. And if we can strengthen the North American continent, the better off we're going to be overall out there. So, again, it says that nearshoring continues to be a long-term structural shift, but the operating environment around it has become significantly more complex. And then it says that, we're seeing strong demand across major cross-border hubs like in Laredo. And then it added that demand is happening even as shippers navigate rising fuel costs. Okay, blah, blah, blah. We all know that. More shippers are exploring transloading strategies at the border, consolidating shipments inside of Mexico before export and looking for ways to create more flexibility. At the same time, we're seeing capacity become more concentrated in high compliance, operationally disciplined networks. And then U.S. imports from China are declining, while from Mexico, they are rising, said John Lash, a group vice president at E2 Open. You find it mainly tactical sourcing of goods from alternative manufacturers already set up in Mexico. And then this puts pressure on the infrastructure at the border, crossing hubs such as Laredo and other major Mexico-U.S. corridors. As someone living in Austin, they said, I can attest to the visible increase in truck volumes out there. So, it looks like the shift kind of happened a while ago because it's easy to sit here and look at what happened this past 12 months in regards to tariffs and think like hold on a sec. It's easy to look at these last 12 months in regards to tariffs and see that natural shift. But I think like what happened is like Mexico was already built up to take on more of a manufacturing perspective or a more of a manufacturing footprint. And now they're going to be able to utilize that to its fullest extent out there. And again, you have to look at it where our buying behaviors as consumers is exponentially different now. All right. Nobody wants to wait for anything. Why would you when you can get it at your front door in Amazon in 2 hours or less in some major metropolitan areas? So it's like the whole supply chain has fundamentally changed due to consumer buying behaviors. And it naturally makes sense for people to go nearshore down in Mexico and then utilize that stuff, right? Like people want to get their goods faster. They don't want to wait anymore. And, again, I look at it, if we're looking, from a consolidation factor and then, sorry, I'm just kind of looking, I'm trying to find, because there's a lot of basic information in this article. It was a good one. It's a valuable talking one. but there's a lot of basic information in here. But I think more importantly, being versed in cross-border freight, whether it's going in and out of Canada or in and out of Mexico as a freight broker, is very, very important. There's a lot of great software out there. I know Cargado, Matt Silver's company, they got the Mexico freight game on lock down there. That would be one I would start looking into that if you haven't became well versed in moving freight in and out of Mexico. But I look at it this is going to be a major opportunity here, okay? Because I know a lot of people who move freight out of Laredo and then South Texas produce area. They've all mentioned that there's an insane capacity crunch going on in there. Now, there's a lot of that has to do with ICE enforcement. Some drivers just don't want to deal with it. I'm not saying every driver that drives down there is illegal or anything like that, but it creates a natural resistance that is out there. But again, this is also an opportunity for you to create a solution for your customers to build out that familiarity in the event they do switch their entire procurement strategy, or they're in the process of switching their procurement strategy of, not maybe buying their products from China directly anymore. They're going to go through Mexico, and you might need to be able to pivot. So get well versed on that, you guys. This isn't going away. I think that no matter what, you can be against tariffs all you want, but a stronger North America is a very good thing, and a stronger U.S. economy is always going to be a very good thing for every individual out there. So that article was from ttnews.com. Check that one out. Second article, also from TT News. FedEx was in the news here. Obviously, they've split off their freight company, and it goes on to say FedEx Freight has officially debuted on the New York Stock Exchange as an independent standalone carrier. While celebrating the spinoff, CEO John Smith issued a clear market outlook warning. Despite contracts and spot rates steadily climbing out of a historic 3.5-year down cycle, the broader market recovery will be highly nonlinear due to persistent inflation worries, potential interest rate hikes, and rising diesel prices tied to volatile conflicts out there. The company the company targets a 15% operating margin by 2029 through independent sales teams and specialized technology. The nation's largest LTL carrier is officially a standalone trading entity. So for those of you who didn't hear this at all, FedEx, like the parcel is different from FedEx LTL. Now they're just two separate companies now. Talking about the nonlinear recovery, like I think like early indications are obviously like rates are up, things are changing. We can all see that. But when that cost eventually makes its way down to an already high grocery bill to the market, it's going to be interesting to see what falls off at that point, right? Like, people are going to ride that high right now, but I also look at it is yes, high freight rates are a great thing. I'm not saying people don't deserve to make money, but when it hits the shelves out there and prices increase because people have to pay higher, I mean, this does get passed down to somebody, right? Like, it's not just the manufacturers who are going to eat this. It gets passed along. As the old saying goes, shit rolls downhill. Somebody's going to pay for it eventually, i.e. the end user and the consumer out there. So it's going to be interesting to see here, and whether it's 30 days, 90 days, I don't know. I don't have the magic wand on when that happens and if that stops people from purchasing certain goods out there. Because again, like the biggest economic indicator I personally watch out of everything is consumer credit card debt. Most people I think like the average American has like $15,000 in credit card debt. I could be wrong, could be the average household, but like it's a lot. And credit card debt is at an all-time high. Auto loan delinquencies were at an all-time high last time I checked as well. So you can't necessarily, just because Wall Street might be doing good doesn't mean Main Street is doing good. All right. And I look at a lot of those things is like, all right, people are already stressed out. People are already delinquent on their loans and everything else and credit cards. Is this going to sustain much longer when people can't afford to buy groceries at the end of the day? And then where are they going to shift their consumer purchasing behaviors. So again, if you're looking at this from that level, and I know this is kind of off from the FedEx freight thing, I just wanted to bring that up because the big key point was the nonlinear recovery is it could get to that point, right? And then again, if you're out there and you're building a book of business, and this is a parallel I wanted to draw for you guys, what are those essential items that you're going to purchase in your home no matter what, right? Like if you only have $200 a week for groceries, hypothetical example, I went to public school, I like easy math. You might not, what are those essentials that you're going to have in your house no matter what, right? What are you going to stop by? What novelty items are you going to choose to live without if you only have a fixed budget to operate off of? And with price increases, you got to choose this, not that mentality. So look at that and then go out there and start prospecting based on that. Because if your home essentials are going to be, your basics, right? Your shampoos, your conditioners, cleaning supplies, toothpaste, produce, bread, something like that, right? Like look at that, map all of that out, utilize that and go out there and start selling on it. Okay. Because that is a good business development strategy to adhere to when we're looking at this stuff, right? Because high freight rates are great. And I'm never going to sit here and say that it's not. But if you look downstream, somebody's paying for that. And if we're looking at credit card debts and auto loans and delinquencies and everything being very, very high, people don't have many expendable resources out there. And when it comes down to it, what are they going to choose to buy no matter what? That is where we want to go. Okay. That's where my mind naturally goes to when it comes to a business development perspective. Now, still, there's plenty of money out there, and I'm not trying to sound like I think the world's crashing or anything like that, but Main Street isn't as flourishing as some people in the media want you to see out there. So those are the key the economic indicators I pay attention to is consumer credit card debt. And when it's as high as it is, and then you just also see where loan delinquencies are, that's also pretty freaking high. That tells you where everyday Americans are and what they're going to be able to afford to purchase here as things continue, right? Because again, you want to talk about the conflict in the Middle East, right? There's reports out there. Again, I don't mean to fearmonger, but there's legitimate fears of actually running out of fuel, right? Gas, fuel at some point this year. There are people out there predicting that. Now, could they be doing it for clicks? Maybe, but those are some very real things that people are looking at because it's do you buy gas? Do you buy groceries? Do you buy your kids new clothes? The struggle's real for a lot of people, you guys. So pay attention to those things as you're going out there to develop your business and continue to move that freight. Because again, you want to find that, I don't ever want to say recession-proof style freight, but it kind of is to that point. You got to find the shit that people are buying no matter what out there. Third and final article. This one came out. Now, I think this came out a week ago. But again, maybe my media strategy is bad that I like to wait to talk about stuff, but I kind of like to see all the facts come out before I try and formulate any opinion. This one is from freightwaves.com. Texas court nixes shipper liability in Home Depot Warner case. Just 2 weeks after the Supreme Court expanded broker exposure, the Texas Supreme Court built a massive legal defense for corporate cargo owners. In a case involving Home Depot and a Warner Enterprise truck accident, the High Court ruled that one who hires an independent contractor is generally not liable for the contractor's torts. Judge John Philip Devine explicitly rejected the plaintiff's attempt to force passive shippers to independently monitor and continually reevaluate the safety performance of over 1 million federally regulated motor carriers, labeling the theory as entirely unworkable and disruptive to commerce. Now, again, I think this is very, very important to point out that with that Supreme Court ruling, they tossed it out to the states. And if you are unaware of how the government works, I'm going to break it down for you. States independently operate from the federal government. And that is how a lot of us should want it to be, right? States. All right. We don't want any more government than is already out there. We want the states to be able to independently operate. I think that's the right way to do things. I will say, okay, so it goes on, the shipper firewall. The Texas High Court has firmly halted the post-SCOTUS push to automatically drag corporate shippers into vicarious trucking accident lawsuits. defining the limits of duty. The court established that a legally cognizable duty of care cannot be untethered from direct control, conduct, and active risk management. And here, let me go. There's something. Sorry, my thing just. All right. All right. The crash that launched the case occurred in 2024. Excuse me. I'm going to do a little back story on this. Juwan Smith, an employee driver at Warner, was transporting freight for Home Depot. Smith trashed with Natalio Garcia at an intersection along the road, and after reportedly running a red light, unfortunately, Garcia was killed. Home Depot was not initially named as a defendant in the case, but was added later. Defining duty. The various arguments in this case focus on the term duty and what was Home Depot's duty to ensure a safe driver. An existing duty already applies to the carriers and its employees. Home Depot argued a new duty on the extension of an existing one involving the shipper's selection of a carrier is unwarranted. In the same argument, Home Depot said attempts elsewhere to impose liability against the shipper have failed. There is an existing remedy available to the injured motorist, and it lies against the driver and his employer, not the person who hired the independent carrier. The Texas Supreme Court agreed. The plaintiff's liability theory is not viable because it transforms the commonplace act of shipping goods into a basis for sweeping tort liability untethered from control, conduct, and risk. Quoting a precedent, Judge Devine echoed the words of an earlier decision. The existence of a legally, I already read that, dismisses, okay. Let's see. So it's not unique in that Texas because no one really has tried that before. All right, the trial court correctly held that there was no precedent in the state of Texas to expand liability beyond the actual involvement of the event. And then unworkable and disruptive. In the online commentary, said that it said that the court recognized the imposing liability on passive shippers would effectively require retailers, manufacturers, distributors, and commercial customers to independently investigate, monitor, and continually reevaluate the safety performance of more than 1 million federally regulated motor carriers. Requiring that sort of due diligence would be unworkable, commercially disruptive, and fundamentally inconsistent out there. The Texas decision, according to Andrew Peterson of the law firm Ziegler, Gardner, and Bell, recognizes that liabilities get really tenuous the further down the line you get. So at least in the state of Texas, the Supreme Court recognized the fact and said, look, only in these certain circumstances are you going to be allowed to pursue that type of claim, particularly against a shipper. This would, of course, extend to a broker in the exact same situation. Now, this does not say, again, this doesn't say that shippers can't be held liable out there. But I think that it's going to be interesting because, how I had said originally with the Supreme Court ruling, I'm paying more attention to the next case. Well, now, granted, this one wasn't at the federal Supreme Court. This is at the state Supreme Court in Texas. All of these are going to be precedent setting. And then if any of these states have common laws, again, this is the stuff that you need to pay attention to. And this is what I'm talking about here as why I think this might affect smaller carriers at a level that they might not be aware of, right? Because again, it depends on the state, right? I think you're playing Russian roulette on the states that you're operating in, if you're not aware of this, right? And this might cause, again, if we're looking at a risk mitigation standpoint alone, this might cause certain companies to not want to work with certain companies due to a bunch of predetermined circumstances that are out there. And the more these cases come out, now I know Echo had another one brought up against them, and there's going to be more that comes out, right? So I think it's still too really early to tell, but I'm going to stand on my ground when I say from a risk mitigation standpoint, and that is how most people are going to be looking at this risk mitigation. How can they remove themselves from any and all liability in this transaction? However that unfolds, I don't know how that is going to be favorable to some of these smaller carriers that are out there. I truly don't, especially if you can't prove certain things. I think I think the most surefire way to protect your business is get your shit in line, your hiring practices, all of that stuff, action plans, provide that to all of your customers if you have direct shippers out there as a carrier. But I don't know how this is going to shake out. I just again, I hope I'm wrong. I don't want anybody to go out of business, but from a risk standpoint, it doesn't bode well for the smaller trucking companies. I don't feel that way. I hope I'm wrong, but I just don't know if that bodes well for them. But that article is from FreightWaves, you guys. That is also going to be it for today. As always, if you guys got value in what you heard and you're not subscribed, subscribe to the show, you guys. And if you're feeling ambitious, rank that show on iTunes and Spotify, because if you see value, your network's going to see it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Came back with a bang, window down, yelling out money, anything. Hey, ooh, got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when I'm getting to the back. Hey, got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when the lane moves.